And we're on. This is the Great Classic Movie Debate. We are the sister channel of the Great Classic Rock Debate. So if you haven't checked us out over there, please do. But we thank you for being here. We try to keep it fun and interesting. I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul.
I'm Steve.
And we just talk about anything pertaining to movies. And well, what we talked about tonight is perhaps doing a conversation, a discussion of songs in movies. So it's not a classic rock discussion, but it sort of might veer into that. But we're talking about specifically songs that were specific to a movie as opposed to a song that pre-existed and then was just stuck on the soundtrack, okay? And it's worth mentioning that because right now the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie is out. By the way, it's gotten really good reviews.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. It's pretty solid. It's probably the best Marvel movie. Yeah, I saw it last weekend.
Oh, okay. Steve,
best.
You are ahead of everybody when it comes to getting to the movie theater.
He has an AMC pass, so he has to use it.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I have the AMC A list. I see 3 movies a week in any format. It costs me like $21 a month. So I go to like eight movies a month.
Oh man, awesome. I didn't know that. It's good to know. All right. Well, anyway, those Guardians of the Galaxy movies, they choose the greatest songs for their soundtracks. I mean, you cannot help but applaud and worship them for their soundtracks. But for tonight's discussion, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to stick with songs that are specific to the movie. Do I have that right, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know when the three of us can noodle and talk about. I don't know when it first started, where someone figured out, hey, if we write a cool song, it'll help the movie, and we can make money from the soundtrack of that song made for the movie. I'm not talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. That's a completely different.
Right.
Like, I don't know when that started. Like, for instance, the Poseidon Adventure. Right.
Right.
It's got to be a morning.
I can't believe you even know that song. But yeah, you're right. That song
was that written for the movie?
It was.
I'm not sure. Oh, was? Okay.
I'm 90% sure. And the reason I say that is because that song didn't exist until the movie came out. Then all of a sudden the song was, but maybe somebody knew it and just said, hey, we should put this on the, let me
look that up.
Yeah,
I'm assuming we're going to exclude musicals like The Wizard of Oz and those types of things. And I don't even think they sold soundtracks back then. I'm going to assume they did not.
Agreed. Okay, let me add this little anecdote real quick, because I saw this interview years ago on one of those, I don't know, VH1 behind the scenes type of thing, and which is, of course, the origin of More Cowbell. But it was an interview with several members of the band Survivor. Okay. So they told this story. It was extremely interesting how the producers of the movie, and that would have been Rocky III, contacted them. They had heard some other song by them. So I like their sound. It's going to fit well with our soundtrack. So they contacted them and said, we want you guys to write a song specifically for this movie. The song needs to capture what the movie is about, and they need to go together. The song needs the movie, and the movie needs the song, and the two of them combined will be greater than the sum of the parts, whatever. And so they brought them in and they sat down for a screening of the movie, so that they already had this vibe of not just what the movie's about, but what the song is supposed to do. It needed to be an anthem. It needed to be a song that makes your blood pump and get you fired up and whatever. It needed to have all these things. And they said that the description that the producers of the movie had given them didn't really scratch the surface until they sat down and watched it. And once they saw it, that's when they went, oh my God, now we know what we have to do. And so they sat down to write this anthem, Eye of the Tiger. And when they had finished it and brought it back to the movie guys, they already knew this is exactly what they want. This is what they're looking for. And when they heard it, they were like, you guys are unbelievable. So it was like a match made in heaven. But that's exactly how the whole thing happened. They contacted them, told them what they wanted, screened the movie, and then these guys created the song. So it's a pretty cool story.
If you contrast that to Saturday Night Fever and the Bee Gees, exactly the opposite. They said, we want to make you songs for the movie. And they go, you want to see the movie? They're like, no. So they never saw the movie until it was their songs were in the movie. I think it's incredible. It works both ways, but that's fascinating to me.
That I couldn't agree more. That really is. Of course, in the case of that one, I'm not sure that the story of the movie, those songs don't really tell the story of the movie. They're just songs about going out dancing on a Saturday night or whatever. Whereas the song Eye of the Tiger, yeah, exactly. The song Eye of the Tiger really gets to the heart and soul of that movie, Rocky III. It really does. Okay.
What about Gonna Fly Now? Was that a song before Rocky? I have no idea.
No, that's Rocky's theme.
Okay.
I'm 99.9% sure that was written exclusively for the movie.
I'm sure you're right.
That's amazing that someone could do that. It just blows me away.
Well, because there's, other than the chorus, there's no lyrics to the song. So that leads me to believe it had to have been written as a soundtrack song. And I have that record. I bought it at a garage sale when I was like probably 5 years old.
That song just fires you up, and so does the Survivor song.
Yeah, I like to listen when I'm doing preacher curls. I usually put on Eye of the Tiger. That usually like okay. I'm actually serious, but it's funny. There was an old Jim Brewer skit on Saturday Night Live where he was like the world's worst roommate, and he's like, I call this section or the part of the night Eye of the Tiger, and it was him like flexing in the mirror listening to Eye of the Tiger.
That guy's pretty funny. Yeah.
Okay,
Paul, give us another one. We've mentioned the Poseidon Adventure and Rocky.
We can talk about the rest of the show, but we can move the 2-word name, man's name, and just get it off to the races. It's called James Bond. And we can talk about the rest of the show, or we can jump around. So you had literally the greatest musician in history, Paul McCartney, was asked to make a song for the Live and Let Die. So he made one of the greatest songs ever written for that movie. You talk about just crushing it, just like these other songs. Just like, all right, what are yours two?
Yeah, James Bond, but that wasn't the first. Every James Bond movie has a from the very first
Shirley
one
Bassey
has
did Golden.
its own song.
Right, but you know what? It is kind of noteworthy the way they seem to go to extremes. Either it's a big hit or it's like, when I watched The Man with the Golden Gun recently, this song was by Lulu, and who's a British singer. And I was going, I've never heard this song in my life. I've never heard it once. The theme song.
Yeah, Shirley Bassey saying
Goldfinger.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a really good song. And that was
and that was a hit.
Austin Powers. Like,
plus, yeah.
And then all right, so the other song for Bond, it's the worst Bond movie. I can't stand it, but it's the best other than Live and Let Die, is A View to a Kill. That is the greatest.
That's a great Bond song.
The movie is just god awful. And I love Christopher Walken.
I love Roger Moore. I would say it's the worst Bond movie, but I see what I can see, because Roger Moore was kind of a little old to be going after 22-year-old Tanya Roberts at the time. But my favorite Bond song, I'm happy to stay on that movie if you want, is We Have All the Time in the World by Louis Armstrong, which was on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh, wow.
Which was the George Lazenby one movie wonder there.
Right.
And I am not a fan of the Daniel Craig movies. I think what they ended up doing, I think they're good movies, but they're not James Bond movies. The last movie to me, and I can't even remember that I have owned every James Bond movie except the last one. I think they
terrible.
the character.
Oh, you mean hold it? You mean the one with the black girls in there now? She's 007, or the one before that?
No, that one. And I can't remember the name because spoiler alert. Have you guys seen it?
No.
Which one again? Hold it. Which one again?
The last James Bond movie, which I can't remember.
I wouldn't watch that movie at gunpoint.
So what happened? Well, I'll ruin it for you.
Go ahead.
James Bond dies. That's not James Bond doesn't die. I mean that's the character. It's a fantasy. So
okay, so Daniel Craig was or wasn't in that?
Daniel Craig was in it, and he dies at the end. The only thing about that movie that I found redeemable was that they had a callback to that song. That was kind of the main. I don't know if it was the main song.
Okay.
At various times throughout the movie, they played that song "We Have All the Time in the World," and and my take on it is because that's the movie where George Lazenby, James Bond, gets married in that movie, and they end up killing his bride in that. And so they have throughout the entire series, there's only 2 callbacks or references to that. That soundtrack at the very last one, and then in License to Kill, which is one of my favorite Bond movies
with
Timothy Dalton.
That was pretty good.
Felix Slider says, "Oh, he was married, but it was a long time ago." So
right. That Gladys Knight did the theme song from that one, License to Kill. But what they do is they sort of sample some of the song, the theme song, License to Kill. It has pre-existing Bond music, like soundtrack music, sort of like spliced in, sampled in, whatever. So it's not terrible, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of that type of sampling.
Yeah. I don't. That's probably one of my least favorite Bond songs. But and then also surprising, I was watching this with a good friend of mine when we were in South Africa last year, and it was the only thing on TV. Benicio del Toro's in the movie as one of the hitmen, and he was like, "Oh my god, I didn't realize he was in this movie." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's where I remember when he became kind of big in the mid '90s." I was like, "Oh, that's the guy from The Living Daylights or License to Kill."
Okay,
yeah. License to Kill. So
okay, all right.
Yeah, we're leaving out another one. I always thought this woman was smoking hot. Carly Simon, Nobody Does It Better. That's a good song.
That is a good song.
It is, and Carly Simon. Hey, babe, how are you? No, I really like that version too. So
she's an
Moonraker. Moonraker. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even know.
That's a good song, but 2 Bond movies later, 2 or 3, whatever, the one For Your Eyes Only, I thought that was not.
Sheena Easton?
Yeah, Sheena Easton.
Oh, I think it's a great Bond song.
You think so?
Yeah.
It was a big hit in the moment. For me, it hasn't aged well. I couldn't
agree more. But all right, what other music? What are the movies? Now Star Wars. Does that count? Like.
Well, we're not talking about soundtracks. We're talking about
song, but it's a song,
lyrical song.
For the movie,
I think. Yeah, and I would say, aside from Rocky, the other one that I can remember that may have started setting the trend was Ghostbusters.
See, good one.
Really popular.
Yeah, I'm afraid no ghosts.
And that's a great soundtrack overall. I had that record when I was a kid as well.
But didn't Ray Parker get sued for by Huey Lewis for that song, or am I getting stories confused?
You know what? I think you're right. I heard something about that. In fact, I heard the Huey Lewis part of it, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty damn close. I don't know what was the outcome of that suit was.
Huey Lewis won. I don't know what the actual settlement was. But Ray Parker lost.
Oh, it's what it is. It's I want a new drug.
New drug. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
You listen to the bass line of that, and
it's
the bass line from Ghostbusters.
Hey, we're leaving out the Star Wars song sang by Bill Murray. Star
All right. Well, don't forget, of course, I think just about any of the songs from Purple Rain are
yeah. Does that count though? I mean, it's.
Is that When Doves Cry? Is that on that soundtrack?
Yeah. But the
That's a great song.
The album is a soundtrack, but it was released. I mean, if the movie had never happened, that entire album still would have been released just like that.
To me, I don't know if that really, qualifies as a
okay.
Just because it's a musical artist writing songs for their own movie.
Fair enough. What about this one? Chariots of Fire.
Oh.
But what's the song? I know the theme song. No, but
there's no words.
We're not talking about just music though. I thought we were talking about songs. I'm thinking lyrical songs, not themes.
All right, we can have another show on just no singing, but soundtrack.
Okay.
And Star Trek. And now I have a movie that the song was first, but the guy literally almost copied the theme of the song in the movie that's called The Killing Moon, Donnie Darko. He literally wrote the movie around this song. It's talking about all the weird stuff in there, and you're like, whoa now. And
well, that's kind of like what they did with The Wizard of Oz. They wrote it about Dark Side of the Moon. Sometimes you get my humor, sometimes you don't. That's
good. I like that.
Okay, I got one. What about the movie? The movie is Beverly Hills Cop 2. What was the song?
Oh God, that was Bob
on a banana.
Steve?
It's Bob Seger. I can't remember the name of the song,
Shakedown.
But that's a phenomenal song. And I'm a big
Bob Seger fan.
Shakedown.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's a great Seger song. I love it.
And it has the distinction of being his first #1 song. Guys had a million hits, but that was the first one that ever reached #1 on the charts.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm curious because they re-released was it Night Moves in the mid 90s? They came out they made a music video for it. I wonder if
it was the greatest hit. When they released the greatest hits album, they re-released Night Moves as a single and they made a video because there was no video up until that time.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And let
me mention
Shakedown is on the greatest hits, probably because of copy rights to the soundtrack, is my guess.
You know what? You might be right. I'm not sure. Just for the record, slightly off topic, but that guy who I've mentioned many times, the Professor of Rock, he does a video. It's about 30 minutes. It's about the song Night Moves. And I got to tell you, it was never my favorite song. It became like my favorite song after watching his video. And he does talk about the fact that they created a video to coincide with the greatest hits CD in the 90s.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah,
I have another one.
Great channel.
And if the 20-year-old version of Paul saw this 58-year version of Paul, he would probably slap my teeth out right now. But I worship Neil Diamond. I'm talking about the jazz singer. America and I Said. And there, oh my God. I saw that movie in the theater, and I just I don't know. I saw parts of it about 10 years ago. Like, oh my God. I totally did not get this movie as a kid, And Neil Diamond is just gone.
I haven't seen it. It was 40 years ago when I saw it. I hardly remember it.
I've never seen it, mainly because the 20-year-old Steve and the 46-year-old Steve are the same person.
Right. I Said pre-existed the movie. But Coming to America was from the soundtrack.
And that's a great song. I always thought it was from the Eddie Murphy movie.
That was good, Steve. Now, what's funny is, I'll tell you something funny. I know this guy pretty famous. His father won an Academy Award for Best Director and Best Picture. And when I said, oh yeah, that's the original, he laughed in my face. He goes, that's probably the 4th version.
The jazz singer?
And it has the distinction of being the first soundtrack movie with sync sound.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
1927, Al Jolson, right? I think. Going way back in my memory banks, but it was the first song or first movie that had synchronized sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sound era. Watch, oh my gosh, Singing in the Rain, which is one of the top all time. And it's all about going from the silent era to the talking era. And
that's a great soundtrack.
Yeah, see, that's it. Singing in the Rain. I just
see, that's why it's a musical. So my question is, are we excluding musicals?
Nice point, Steve.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Okay, I got one, and I've mentioned this song once or twice on the other channel about how it gets played on classic rock stations, although to me, it does not qualify. I like the song. It's not classic rock to me. 1985. Anybody want to take a guess?
Heavy metal, no.
1985. Who's the? Oh, you probably give it away.
The movie is The Breakfast Club.
Oh, Simple Minds.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Simple Minds, right? Exactly.
Which Billy Idol. I don't know if he wrote that, but originally he was going to record that, and
Really?
it's on his greatest hits record. When you listen to the song, you're like, that sounds like a Billy Idol song.
It does have a Idol vibe. It does. I never thought about that, but it does.
And yeah, he does a really good job of it on the greatest hits. His CD.
Simple Minds is a great band. Like if you ever listen to their stuff,
and they hate that song. They did not want to record it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I saw an interview with them probably about 30 years ago. And they said they hated that song so much, but obviously I think they're happy. Kind of like Quiet Riot with Come On Feel the Noise.
Exactly right. Or Cherry by Warrant, which we don't say that song.
Right.
I don't know what you guys have against that song, but
Steve, stop.
Horrible.
I'm just gonna say, when I was in 8th grade, that music video was out. And,
all right, that's fair. That's fair.
It was funny. Was Johnny Lane hated that song too? He hated it. He said the same thing that Quiet Riot.
Yeah.
Same thing. They made us do it. Like
yeah.
Well, who wrote it? So I'm assuming Warren.
Probably some 3rd grade kid who was having a fart test wrote it.
His Janie Lane wrote I think all of their songs.
He did, yeah. But Paul's point is that the record company insisted that they put one more song on there that had hit video radio potential, and that was the song that they added. They didn't.
I got one for Kenny, because Kenny has a remark. How about The Rose? Well, their original. Yeah, that's a great movie. Much as I don't really care for her.
It's another movie that I saw so long ago, and I think I dozed through part of it. I don't remember.
It's really good. Have you seen this movie, Steve? The Rose?
No.
She's kind of like a semi on Janis Joplin.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And it's tremendous. I'm not kidding. It's a tremendous movie. And go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I have two. So if you
go ahead, jump.
So these are going to be very similar. I don't know if they were written exclusively for the movie, but they're on the soundtrack. So one of them is they're both Schwarzenegger movies. So in one band is AC/DC. And anybody want to take a guess? It's from probably 93.
Oh, it's from Last Action Hero, right?
Yep. Big Gun. That's one of my favorite AC/DC.
That is a good song. I have to admit, that's a real good song.
Yeah.
I've never seen them perform that live. Wish they would, but and then the other one is another Schwarzenegger movie, but it's also on the band's album.
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses. You Could Be Mine.
You Could Be Mine. Right.
Me too.
And the movie, the Schwarzenegger movie preceded the album release by at least 6 or 7 months. So I think it's fair. It could have even been a year. Yeah.
I had the cassette single for that when I was 13 years old, so 1990, and I listened to it, and it said from the forthcoming album Use Your Illusion. It's on 2. I don't know what it said, and I was like, so I waited for like a year for that album to come out.
Okay. All right. Okay, I mentioned 1985, The Breakfast Club. I'm going to stay in 1985, but it's a couple of months later. It's summer. Biggest movie of the year. One of the biggest movies of the decade, if not the biggest movie of the decade. You guys know what movie I'm talking about?
All right.
Die Hard. No.
Say you, say me.
No. Movie, good guess. The movie is Back to the Future.
Oh, Huey Lewis.
There you go.
Yeah, that was written for the movie.
It was, yeah.
It's a great song. It really is.
Yeah. I'm not a Huey Lewis fan, but I like that song.
Like when you say Huey Lewis, and I know someone who's related to him, and I had told him about American Psycho, and he hadn't heard it, so I made him. We were in a place where we couldn't watch it on the internet, so we got back, and I made his jaw like whomp. You remember this scene in American Psycho, Kenny?
Yeah.
I saw it at your house. You and Jeremy were watching it, and I'm like, "What the f is this movie?"
What scene are you talking about? I just saw it about a year ago.
Hold on, I saw it at your house with you and Jeremy.
No, but I'm saying I've seen it recently, is what I'm saying.
Where he's in the living room and he's Jared Leto is on the couch and he's got newspaper down and he puts like he got this $5,000 suit and he puts a see-through raincoat on it and walks up with that axe.
Oh, is he playing Huey? Is Huey Lewis playing? I don't remember that.
Right.
Well, it's funny because Huey Lewis has two iconic songs from soundtrack songs from the 80s, if you count Ghostbusters and then Back to the Future.
Right. There's that.
Nice one, Steve. That was
and
good.
He was in Die Hard as well.
What? He's in Die Hard.
That was a running joke. Like, there's a guy, one of the bad guys from Die Hard.
He looks just like him.
Just like Huey Lewis.
Oh, he does. He does. Wow.
He's the guy.
Right.
He's down in the lobby. And he's like watching the USC game.
Yeah.
He's like, I got $50 on these guys.
Hey, is Rocky IV was Coming to America already a song?
I don't think so. I think that was for that movie.
Living in America, not Coming to America.
Okay. That was for the movie. You're right. That was not a pre-existing song.
And that's an awesome song.
Also, Survivor had Burning Heart, which was awesome.
Oh, that's a great. The Rocky IV soundtrack. I had that record as well.
Good.
A lot of good stuff on that. Yeah.
Is that the other really good Survivor track? That's like, and I can't hold back, and that song that where he gets.
That's just off of one of their albums, but that's not off of the soundtrack.
What's the name of that song I just did?
I Can't Hold Back.
Okay.
I don't know if I know that one.
We'd be going on trips, and I have a song that I heard once, and I would be doing the melody. And this guy would sit there for an hour and a half, and like, okay, and then, oh my God, what's that song by Phil Collins? I was gonna kill myself one night, and he saved me from killing myself. About the illegal alien or no, one of those songs, and you like, and I kept pushing you, and you just like, okay, give me some more information, sing it, and I'm like, I'm the worst singer on earth. And he's just like, okay. And they finally got it. I was like, oh my God, he's a genius.
Well, speaking of Phil Collins, he has a song from The Color of Money. One of his biggest hits is the kind of the themes. I don't know if it's the theme song, but it's from that soundtrack. Huh. And I'm not a big Phil Collins fan. I liked him in Genesis, but I can't remember the name of the song.
First album, Face Dances. Am I getting confused, Kenny?
That was Pete Townsend.
Thank you. No, that was okay. What's that first album called? Like, I Could Feel on the Street Tonight. That's a good album. I mean, it's
Face Value.
Face Value. I was close.
It is good. It's good.
What about Steve? You just had it on. Oh my God, Steve! You just gave me a really good. Oh, The Lion King, Elton John, right?
Yeah. Those were all original.
Movie, right or not?
Yeah.
If you like The Lion King, I'm not really a Disney fan.
No, it's a good song. It's
fair enough. Okay, listen.
One More Night is by Phil Collins. Is from the Color of Money soundtrack.
That's a good song.
Okay, but what year was that movie? The Color
1986, maybe.
How about Tom Cruise and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and we're also speaking of Tom Cruise. Top Gun, Kenny Loggins. Danger Zone.
Oh yeah. Oh
That
yeah,
was
definitely.
Rip.
I did my skydiving video to that song. So
Okay, okay, guys, our time is up. So hold everything that you wanted to mention because we can carry that one over. In fact, we might want to jot down a few next time. But for this week, we're out of time. Do we want to give out any honorary Oscars for tonight?
Steve, go ahead.
I'm drawing a blank right now.
Oh, I not the guy.
I'll give an honorary Oscar. Best movie of the year so far. Zissou, the Finnish movie, Finnish World War II, kind of John Wick meets an American Western meets, I wouldn't say Saving Private Ryan, but it's set in World War II. Simply phenomenal.
I noticed it got really good reviews and it said very violent. Is that accurate?
It's very accurate. And it's short. It's like 90 minutes and it's action scene after action scene. The first 5 minutes are a little slow. And you're like, I was sitting there going, I'm sure it's going to pick up, but when does that happen? And once it does, it's like a roller coaster.
Okay. All right. Oh, Steve, quick question, because you've already seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It looks to me like, I think it was just a poster or something I saw, but it looks to me like they've redesigned Groot and made him more of a physique. Is that accurate or not?
Yeah. He's got he's kind of like you, Ken. I mean, he's bigger. He's a more buff.
In the last movie, he was a boy.
Yeah, yeah. And that was one of the things we were kind of watching. We're like, that they didn't really explain it well. Because there is a scene where he gets, it's not giving away anything. He gets chopped down and then he grows really fast. And you're like, well, it took him like 3 movies to grow back from being the mini Groot to the buff Groot. And then he gets chopped down and he comes back as buff Groot like 20 minutes later. So.
Okay. All right.
But that does, I know we're going to talk about it later, but that has an awesome song from Faith No More from like their first record, which is the original lead singer. And I can't remember his name, but We Care a Lot. So that's awesome.
Okay.
I can't believe they put that in there.
All right. Okay. Well, anyway, listen, that's going to be it for this week. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. And maybe we'll continue on with this one next time. This is the Great Classic Movie Debate. If you happen to be watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. And also check out the Great Classic Rock Debate. Until we meet again, I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul.
I'm Steve.
All right. And we'll check you out. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.